Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine and a very self-indulgent blast of nostalgia. It's been a wonderful year, full of much adventure, great wine discoveries, and the chance to hang out with some incredible people. So this week I'm taking a look back over one of my favourite years of Dan Really Likes Wine. I've lost count of the number of wine routes I've done over the years, but 2025 was the first time I've done one by plane, jumping on a small aircraft and heading up the west coast to the gem that is Friars Cove.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the snacks.
So this is my first trip up to Friars Cove. Tell me a little bit about the place we're going to, Andrew.
Well, Dan, Friars Cove is very much on the frontier of wine producing areas. It's as the crow flies. About an hour's flight from Cape Winelands.
Beautiful flight up the west coast. It is such an enchanting part of South Africa, so isolated, so naturally beautiful, and perfect build-up to our visit to the cellar, but one that has been ever so slightly delayed because Doring Bay International Airport has got some sheep on their runway. As soon as they're cleared, we're ready to land and possibly supplement our seafood buffet at lunch with a couple of chops.
So you put this into the water. Aesthetically, it's so cool, and it's an awesome story to have. But from what you have sampled of this wine from this experiment, does it do something meaningful? Does it have an impact on the wine that you think adds a new dimension?
The big advantage for us for putting it in here is you can see where the wine goes. It's as if it ages a little bit faster.
Is there a more influential couple in the winemaking world than Chris and Andrea Molyneux? Methinks not. I got to spend some time with them in 2025, sampling some of their wine and finding out just what makes their partnership work. It seems, Andrea and Chris, like pretty much every single person, not just in the South African wine industry, but the global wine industry, is queuing up to get into the Swartland this weekend.
For sure, yeah. We have our Swartland Revolution reunion festival this weekend. So it's a festival we last had 10 years ago in the Swartland, which was kind of a very important thing that put the Swartland on the map in many ways. And we're having the first one in 10 years. So there's a lot of excitement to come back and relive the glory days in many ways.
I mean, when we started out, we started the Swartland Revolution to really teach everyone in the Swartland, in Cape Town, in South Africa about why we felt that the Swartland was special in terms of the amazing old vines that we have and how working together to create something bigger really got the message across. And so when we started the Swartland Revolution in 2010, it was an amazing, it was the drop that created the ripple effect to what we have today.
On my list of things I wanted to do in 2025, I'm not sure that firing a rather large cannon had come to mind, but that's exactly what I got to do out in Durbanville at Natita.
I'm ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Go!
Congratulations. You have successfully fired your first cannon.
Thank you very much, Eric! That was brilliant!
De nada.
The art of sabrage is a wonderful party trick, and don't tell anybody I told you this, it's not actually that hard to do. Traditionally with a sabre or sword, but I got to try something a little different this time round, as Klein Rosboom set me to the task, armed with a spade. All right, so quite simply, so and I use this here.
Yeah, so today, because you're at Glenrosboom, now you can firstly hold the bottle for me.
All right.
I just want to just do a test run.
Okay, so I would take
go
it
through and follow through and hit it there. Don't
and then
pull.
and that's going to fly off.
Exactly. Don't pull the ball towards you.
Okay.
Hold it nice and firm, and then wait.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, are you using the wrong saber?
But there only is one saber.
At Glenrosboom, we always do something different.
You just made this up to make me look like an absolute.
I would never do that.
So here I just hit it.
I'll bring you a new one.
Okay.
So you can just run it.
Okay, let me try and find
on the bottle.
All right, is that the seam?
It is the seam. Yeah.
Seam, okay. Is this really working, or have you just made this up?
No,
let's do this.
Just keep it on the bottle, right? Just one.
And I kind of got to hit it there.
Yep.
All right, there we go.
With a little bit of force.
All right. Eat your heart out, Michael Fridge on. Here we go. 1, 2. How cool is that? Spade work of the very finest sense. Peter, you're a master, Professor of Sabrage. Ask David Beckham and King Charles what their highlight of 2025 was, and they'd probably say it was sampling a rosé from South Africa. The Babylon's Turen Mourvedre rosé is the official wine of the Chelsea Flower Show, and appropriately so, for the South African estate has some of our very finest gardens. So this is an adventure I've been looking forward to for some time, bringing together the great success story that is Babylon's Turen Rosé, the gardens for which the estate is famous, and then the link to the Chelsea Flower Show, because, Klaus, this has become synonymous with the show, a great South African rosé that finds itself as an official wine at one of the great London events of the year.
Yeah, Dan, it's an amazing story. It started off as a very small project where, we've got 1 hectare on the farm. We had 1 hectare on the farm in the beginning. And it's actually started off as a sort of a fluke. We sort of forgot about the block. And the end of harvest, we said, well, what are we going to do with the block? We're not going to blend into the Shiraz. Let's make a rosé. And we sat with a bit of sugar, residual sugar, and we made 5,000 bottles the first year. And it sold, in 4 months just in the tasting room. The next year we did another shot, fermented it dry, and it sold out in 3 months. And we knew, listen, we've got something going here.
For 3 manic days in Cape Town, the world of wine descended on the mother city for Cape Wine 2025 and an almighty celebration of everything that is good about our fantastic industry. This is the new Zoo Corporation, following on from the Zoo crew. I'm guessing, Duncan Savage, you haven't been allowed anywhere near a primary school in the last few days.
Not without a packet of sweets, Dan, but a lot of corporate governance going on here this year. So we're back in the zone.
Cape Wine is so special for me. I guess it's just to have the conglomerate of producers together under one roof, and to have the opportunity to showcase our wines to the rest of the world.
Yeah, so this is obviously something very exciting. Today is the first day that we've actually launched the Goldmine White. It's something that's been many years. We've been thinking of putting this white blend together.
Behind me is one of the extra cool parts of Cape Wine. It is the Johnson Workwear tasting area. It could be a little bit dangerous because it is unmonitored wine drinking. You get to go in and there are all sorts of different challenges. For instance, here is Pinotage, but here are the parents, the component parts, the Pinot Noir and the Cinsault. How do they come together? It's your chance to go in and to explore and to learn more in your own time and on your own terms and drink some pretty good wine. The list of attractions at La Motte is endless. There's Jan Hendrik's pop-up, there's the artisanal bakery, a fantastic restaurant, beautiful grounds, and naturally some amazing wine. But as good as any reason for visiting La Motte is the artist's pop-up, which showcases some extraordinary South African talent.
Hello, welcome.
How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good.
Good. Welcome to the atelier.
Hey, I'm so excited.
And use the P&F atelier to accompany us in Lamotte atelier.
This sounds really important. I don't think I could properly appreciate the art if I didn't have a glass of Lamotte in hand.
Definitely not. So this exhibition is called When Surfaces Speak. It's all about celebrating different surfaces, textures, and natural materials. Here we have Leila Walter. She's an incredible weaver, hand weaves all of her works, and she also has functional textiles in our farm shop. So yeah, she really tried to up the surfaces and to give us a very immersive feeling in this wall hanging. I'm in love with this work by Carla Nixon. Each piece is hand painted and hand torn. It's also a very meticulous process, and how she puts it together is also in a very intricate way. And the beauty of this piece is that when you enter the gallery, you are faced with a very soft, delicate works. And then if you immerse yourself, you are struck by a very interesting surprise at the back, with this contrast of color.
One of my favourite restaurants in Cape Town is Upper Union, where Amori Burger creates glorious food in a wonderfully relaxed and casual setting. So I hung out with her and a couple of other wine experts to talk about some of their absolute favourites. Lovely experience to have all of you with me. Tuani Price, probably with apologies to Andrea Molyneux and Samantha O'Keefe, America's greatest wine export to South Africa ever, which we take very happily. Erica Obermeyer, one of my all-time favourite winemakers, and the person I'm off to spend Christmas with, Amori Burger from Upper Union.
You know that, right? So this is a lamb dish. The lamb is lamb shoulder, like a roulette, which we slow cook overnight, then we press it, and the next day we fry it in lamb fat. And the reason for this dish is when I was young, you remember when you were young and the elders were cutting the leg of lamb and the best bits come off first. Like, the best bits come off first. And I wanted to recreate the best bits of a lamb, which means taking all of the lamb, the fat and everything, pressing it and then cooking it in lamb fat so it's crispy bits everywhere and soft bits everywhere. I know.
Am I right that that technique compresses all of the calories out of the dish
100%.
and you actually lose weight and become
100%.
healthier by eating this? I got this.
It's served with beautiful black cherry parsnip puree, charred Brussels sprouts, some sage, and we have a 3-day-old jus. So the lamb and the jus takes us about 3 days to make. So it's very time-consuming dish, but worth every flippin' second.
It's one of my favourite South African wine stories. The maths teacher who gave up work in the academic space and decided he wanted to become a winemaker. Paul Gerber now runs the show at Colmont, and the bubbles he delivers are superb. This is the Colmont tasting room, where you're going to be sorely disappointed if you arrive and you don't like bubbles, because part of the Colmont charm, part of who you are, the defining part of who you are, is that that's all you do. You just do bubbles.
Yeah, it was, I think it's become a healthy obsession, or at least my wife is very happy for the obsession. But yeah, as a wine geek, I was always enthralled by how many bubbles, why do the bubbles taste different, and yeah, so that's what we do.
And you do it extremely well with a range that has slowly but surely started to grow. And I know we're going to taste some more of them a little bit later. But I suspect that's a natural evolution of you as a winemaker, discovering the scope of both what you can do in making wine, but also what Colmont can offer you in return.
Yeah, I think it's about that expression of, what's uniquely South African. And Bubbles Ferreira always said, you can taste the sun in the fruit, when he spoke about Cap Classique, and I think it's so true. Our house style at Colmont is about finesse and elegance, and so it's really looking for that ripeness, and then and serving it or showing it with that finesse and elegance.
The empire that Mark Kent built is one of the great South African wine stories. Buchenholzkloof holding a range of brands from Porcelainberg at the very top end to Porcupine Ridge and Wolf Trap, some of South Africa's regular favourites. Guiding the hand in the cellar, a very gifted South African winemaker.
Yeah, thank you for being here. It's nice having you. Today it's very wet outside, and to think you're standing in the underground cellar in the wettest vineyard property in the winelands officially, and to think that this is actually an organic property as well. So, yeah, welcome.
So from the cellar to the tasting room, looking outside, it is still revolting. I'm very glad I'm inside, Godfried, and inside quite a star-studded room, because having a look at some of the signed bottles, some of the photos, there's a photo of Mark Kent with Bono up on the wall. You've got a bottle signed by Morgan Freeman, one by Heston Blumenthal, one by Hilary Swank. There's some pretty big names who've come through here.
Yeah, and I think even with them, like most people, they came to Buchenholzkloof because of Chocolate Block. You know, I think Chocolate Block is selling in more than 90 countries in the world, and even I still get guests today. You know, we have a tasting on every Tuesday and Thursday, always free of charge. And most people say they tasted Chocolate Block before they even knew they were tasting wine from South Africa, and that actually says quite a lot. You know,
I mean,
we're very
even
proud
they
of
didn't
it.
know it was from Buchenholzkloof. They didn't know it was South Africa. That's how iconic in itself it has become. There's one name that comes up consistently when I talk to South African wine people about having a huge influence on education. That name is Charles Hopkins, and the young talent he continues to bring through at De Grendel is an enormous resource for our industry.
It must be so rewarding for you in that you have this legacy that runs right through the South African wine industry, and that continues with Lelo here today as well, of all of these young people, especially through the Cape Winemakers Guild Protege program, where you've taken these young, excited, slightly uncertain, trainee, aspirant, hopeful winemakers under this broad wing of yours and given them this enormous shove in the right direction.
So it's really special to see a young rookie. I joke with them, they're all qualified winemakers and they come from different backgrounds. Anyway, anything from Zuar in the Southern Cape to Steinkopf in the Northern Cape, and Lelo, for instance, from Pretoria, and they all come from different backgrounds. But it's amazing to see a young qualified winemaker arriving here as a rookie, Dan, as you mentioned, and leave a year later, hopefully as a more confident young winemaker. And it's really special. And some of them stay very close to me. They are like kids of mine. I'll talk to them on a weekly basis on WhatsApp and so on, and some of them, it's not just being at the Grendel, but where they are today as young winemakers is the most special thing of the whole exercise. I had 16, Lelo is the 16th, and it's really special.
There's a buzz that comes from drinking wine that is older than you are, and all the more so when it comes from South Africa's most iconic estates, in this case Meerlust, celebrating half a century in 2025.
Right, it's 1652, the Dutch arrived at the Cape. 1693, the manor house at Meerlust was built already. So it's a very old farm. The farm is the total farm is a national monument nowadays. And my family bought Meerlust in 1756. And we've been there ever since, through thick and through thin as well. And in 1975, my dad started, he was already supplying co-ops with grapes from Meerlust, but he was a very good and it was exceptionally good farmer, and he thought, well, wine, sell my grapes. Why can't we just put them all into our own bottle? And in 1975, that's what he did here with our first Cabernet Sauvignon. 1975, that was 50 years ago.
I've got goosebumps being out here, Vin, because I've been drinking Meerless Rubicon since the age of 8 or 9, and it's always been one of those wines where even as I've got more and more involved in the wine industry, I still feel a surge of excitement because it's not just great wine, which it is, but it is such an important part of this wine story. And I wonder, when you had that first conversation with Hannes about possibly coming to be the next custodian of Meerlust, aside from the excitement of the opportunity, how terrifying it was that now Meerlust Rubicon is up to you to continue the legacy of.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I think absolutely. I think what's really stood out in this past couple of years is that I probably haven't met a single person at a tasting that hasn't come up with, my Meerlust story. It's like I had it at an anniversary or a gift, or it's part of a wedding celebration or a specific special date. And I think it's a wine that has such a personal, emotional connection with so many people. And it really is, that's this wine that's come with generations of wine drinkers. And I think it's become so iconic, not just in South Africa, internationally, that it is really there's a sense of responsibility, I think, with myself and with the team that, there's very high standards obviously set by our predecessors, and, we need to maintain. And I think everything we're doing now is just to ensure that the best Rubicons are still to come.
The biggest wine anniversary of 2025 was the centenary of Pinotage, 100 years since Professor Abram Perold gave us the grape we proudly call our own. It took a while, though, for the grape to catch on commercially, and some of the first to do so, Lanzerac. I mean, even you, as somebody who works here, must more often than not just look around and go, this is not a bad office.
Especially if you drive into the main entrance. I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself, but you get a little bit used to it. And then every now and again, when you get like a day like this with the sun out and the clouds in the background, it's a magical place, beautiful place to work. The first Pinotage was wine made from grapes from Bellevue. It was a vineyard planted in 1953. So a few years ago, we decided, yes, it would be a cool idea to recreate that wine, and I went back to the owners of Bellevue and convinced them at the end, can we have a few kilograms or tons of that vineyard? I mean, it's still in existence. And with the idea to recreate the first Pinotage. And luckily, that was Dirkie Morkel. He said, yes, let's go for it. So we made wine we started in 2017 with the idea to launch the wine in 2019 vintage in 21. That's exactly 60 years after the first Pinotage. And if you look at the first label, it's exactly it's a recreation of the first label, the old fonts. These are all fonts that we have had to redraw by hand because you can't get them on a computer. But that is from the original vineyard. It will state there from Bellevue. And it gives you a different take on Pinotage. It's a vineyard that's, like I said, it was over 70 years old now, and it gives you a little bit more of that Pinot Noir, softer, more elegant, refined sort of wine, which is truly satisfying to work with.
2025 marked my 14th wedding anniversary, 11 years on from saying I do. And after tying the knot in a Greek cathedral in Cape Town, it was off to Backsburg for the celebrations. And that's why Backsburg will always have such a special place for me. This Lithuanian immigrant, this refugee, finds his way to Cape Town at the turn of the century, first becomes a butcher, and then 1916, a land we now know as Babylon's Toren, acquires that land, and the Backsburg journey begins.
Correct. Old story.
And it was very much a family story because it was Charles initially, but it was then Sydney back. He was this visionary when it came to South African wine, and I think he saw potential that a lot of people didn't.
Yes, so the original farm was a fruit farm. It wasn't intended as a wine farm, but Sydney really made it into a wine farm. So the first Sauvignon Blanc that was planted on hillside in the country was planted by Sydney back.
So Alicia, we've got the history, and you are, as we've said, the custodian now of this brand that's got so much of a story behind it. How does that then influence how you make your wine today? How much does the wine that's come before speak to what you now offer us with your vintages here?
Currently, we now have a much more interesting portfolio of vineyards to work from. It took me a while, it took me a year or two to discover my new vineyards, but now we have them. In front of us, we're going to taste today the Chardonnay that comes from one of the most amazing vineyards in Franschhoek Valley. It's one of the highest elevated vineyards. So this vineyard's very special to me. And then we have Cabernet that comes from Stellenbosch. And we have Cabernet Franc that also comes from the Helderberg. So I've had time to really go see which vineyards is going to work into the brand. Instead of, I miss the old property. So the interesting thing that few people realize when you work on one estate, you have to grow everything around you, which is very special because I can go and walk there in the evening and look when they ripe. Now the vineyards is a little bit more scattered, but we do get to choose really the exact spot for what we're trying to make.
And to think, those are just some of the wines and some of the people that we've met over the course of what's been a fabulous year. A huge thank you to the South African wine industry for giving us so much fun. And a huge thank you to all of you for watching, supporting and cheering us on. We look forward to plenty more in 2026. Until then, from the Old Oak, our wine home here in Gauteng, have a fabulous Christmas.